Hey everyone, you're watching Build Series in New York City. I'm Laura Muraski from HuffPost. Halestorm burst on the scene in 2009 with their self-titled debut album featuring the single It's Not You. Fronted by singer Lzzy Hale, the rock band went on to release 3 more full-length albums, win a Grammy, and tour the world. Now they're gearing up to unveil their 4th full-length album called Vicious on July 27th. Please welcome Lzzy Hale, RJ Hale, Joe Hottinger, and Josh Smith of Halestorm.
Howdy. Oh.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh my gosh, so glad to have you here, especially because you just announced this 4th album. So I feel like we're on the hot tails of something hot, and we also have lots to talk about. So let's get right to it. You said that this is going to be the most like Halestorm album that you've ever released. Of course, you've had 4 albums and EPs in between. Why do you say that?
In my opinion, this is going to be the first record, and we always say this, we hope we get better as musicians as we go on, with each record. But this is going to be the first record where you can really hear all 4 corners of Halestorm and what makes us a band. And if any of you have ever seen us live, I think this is the closest to what you see when you see us live. So, in a lot of these records that we put out, okay, we have a catchy song and, I sing on it, and then that's about it. And so there's so many different layers to this record that I'm so proud to show everybody.
How did you manage to transfer that live sensibility into the studio?
I think a lot of it had to do with working with Nick Reskulinix, our producer. He's awesome. He's a big rock and roll fan, and he just, like when we just played in Nashville, and he came out and he's out in the crowd just going nuts. He
all
just,
the way in the back, over everyone.
He just loves it, and he didn't let us get away with not making great moments, and it's really, he goes all the way with the recording. Every chorus is its own. There's no fly it. You got to perform every aspect of the song, which these days is becoming rarer. People just in Pro Tools take it and, oh, that chorus worked, send it over the next one. And I think that helps a lot, and he's the king of the skadoosh. Skadoosh.
And honestly, like what we've realized over the years is that we're really bad liars, and if we're reading it or we're like having to do it like 10,000 times, there's always that one moment where like you were just having so much fun making the music that you're performing, that you're recording, and that just shows through on this record. There's a lot of fun, and then we did go extreme us, and he kept us in that lane,
in that zone.
Yeah.
Do you think it took you a while to pull this together? You recorded it earlier this year, right? But it's been in the works.
When did we start? We started.
It's been over a year.
Yeah.
But we also did all of it, nearly all of it, at Nick's studio.
Okay.
From pre-production and writing the songs and shedding them and then recording them as a demo and then recording them again with something tweaked. And a lot of these songs were recorded 3 or 4 times before this.
Did you enter the studio with most of it all written? And
No, not at all.
None.
Wow.
Which is usually that's usually the way that we do it. We'll have all the songs kind of ready, and everybody approves them, and and then we go in the studio for like a month and we bang it out, and then we like release it and we're like, God, is it good? I don't know. And this time, no, we didn't really know what direction we wanted to take ourselves in.
We tried to do that way. What was it, summer 2016, and that winter and fall. We wrote a bunch of songs, and they were just like, they were okay, and they were really good. They would have done well on radio. We know it would have been a good record, but it wasn't good enough. And we know, just as a band and as a genre, we got to figure out how to push this a little bit and do something a little different and a little more edgy, And so we kind of went into the studio last January with Nick, and we're like, we don't know what to do, man. We wrote all this stuff, and we know it's fine, but we want to be better than that, And he's like, all right, cool. He's like, let's just start with the 5 of us in the room, plug in, and let's start playing. Show me what you got.
So it was like that every day. It was like, okay, who's got something? I have an idea. You got a riff. What do you got? And we'd just start and go down the rabbit hole. And it was a lot of hard work. And everyone on our team, nobody heard a note for a very long time, which was very frustrating for everybody. And then we ended up with this, and we're so proud of it because we know that this is good, and we know that it's very close to our hearts. So.
I love that. It sounds like a very authentic process that you guys took with this album, which is awesome.
Slow ride.
Slow ride, and but we have a couple months before it comes out.
Yeah,
you
now we
mentioned
gotta wait.
radio. How much does radio matter to you all, as you know, in this day and age?
For our genre, it's still, you know, active rock, which has been great to us over the years since the beginning. Really, it's still great. You know, it fuels a lot of the streaming and a lot of the awareness of new songs. And I mean, I still listen to the radio in the car. You know, listen to the rock stations.
You know, and it's all about to us, like there's a definite, like, we are our road family, we're a family, and we have an extended family, which is, you know, a lot of these, you know, radio stations around the country and around the world. And you know, we've been a band since 97, so like we're kind of like we get to see all of it, you know. But there is radio, and then there is, you know, the streaming and everything that's going on now. So we're not afraid to use all of it.
Yeah, I know. I mentioned in my lead up that, you know, you released your album in 2009, your first full length. Of course, you had like an EP before that, but you really have been together 20 years, really, this year. I mean, does it feel, or like last year, really, 2018 already, but does it feel like that long?
Yeah, well, we started when we were two.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, because these guys, if you're watching, these two are brothers, the ones on the brother and sister on the end. Yeah. So, so you started very young.
Yes, we did. It's been an incredible ride, and you know, we literally say this every day, how lucky we are, and how so cool that we're still here, that we still like each other, you know, and that people still care. You know, you guys are a big part of that, and you enable us to do what we love every day.
That's really, really great. We kicked off the segment with the song Uncomfortable, and that song rocks. I mean, it really hits at you hard. What was the story behind that song? Because it's sort of like a no-nonsense kind of track to me.
It is. As far as lyrically, this is about being unapologetically yourself, and it's something that we've kind of stood for, and that I've talked with fans about a lot. You know, online I have an amazing relationship with these people that are silly enough to follow us and follow me, and how, you know, in this day and age especially, you can't make everybody happy. You just can't. And I know that has been a personal struggle for me throughout my life. And so this song is just basically saying that's okay. If you can't make everybody happy, make yourself happy, be you. And be proud that just by being yourself, you're going to make a lot of people uncomfortable.
Sure. And musically, what can you say about it?
I mean, yeah, this was kind of the one of the very first batches of kind of free-for-all jams in the studio. You know, just kind of coming off tour, and it seems like every time we go in the studio after touring, we kind of feel like just a pent-up pressure cooker, just ready to go. And that's usually where we come up. You know, it seems to be a pattern. With the last record, it was Mayhem. With the record before that, it was Love Bites. These songs that we're just like, we just want to make something crazy and high energy and really fun to play and really fun to listen to, stuff that we would like. And just by sheer luck, it ends up being the first single. You know, everybody else on the team is like, yeah, we like the energy. Let's do it.
I actually remember when we were writing that chorus riff, I wrote it as a joke. I was like, see, this is the kind of riff that I don't want to put on the record. Oh, yeah. And then Nick was like, no, dude, just go the octave. It's actually cool. I was like, it's cool? He was like, yeah, it's cool. I was like, okay.
Am I cool?
Are we cool now?
I know nothing.
Collaborative effort, that's for sure. I mean,
And something for the punk rockers, too. I think they'll like it.
there you go. Well, you know, your last album, people were saying maybe it was a little too pop, or, you know, not the Halestorm that they're familiar with. Did that infuse the direction you were going to go in this record?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the great thing about albums, and we treat our entire career as, you know, they're times in our life. And, you know, at the time that we were writing the last record, Into the Wildlife, you know, I had a lot of songs that I was writing on piano at the time. It was just kind of our mood that we were in. You know, we had just, 3 out of 4 of us had just moved to Nashville. And so we got to know this producer who we were his very first hard rock band. And so he was stoked, but it's like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
you know, what are we doing?
To do with us. It was pretty funny.
He had to
That
deal
was
with
the
us.
cool thing about Nick, was that he had seen us so many times live, and he kind of understood what we were all about, and was, you know, just like a lot of people say that, like, wow, you guys sound so different live than on the record. And he was kind of the producer that was like, you know what, I'll bet that I could capture this on tape finally. So that's why we say this is probably the most Halestorm sounding record to date.
Yeah, so we basically were like, okay, that was really fun, and we had a lot of, that was great.
Yep.
Now let's kick it up a notch.
I love it. I think the fans are going to love it too. You've teamed up with other artists through the years, though. You did Lindsey Sterling. What is it like to team up with artists from different genres, and what does that bring to you and to the fans?
For me, it's amazing because I get to be an ambassador for not just for our band, but for our genre. And because every single person that I've collaborated with has never wanted me to be anything other than who I am. And if anything, so with Lindsey Sterling, she wanted me to rock and to sing it the way I wanted to sing it, and then we went out with Eric Church, and Eric literally the first day on that tour came into our dressing room and he's like, "So what's your set list look like?" And I'm like, I don't know, our songs, you know. And he's like, "Well, is there any ballads?" I'm like, "Well, should there be?" He's like, and basically he's like, "No, I don't want any slow songs. I don't want you to cater to the audience at all. I want you to come out swinging. What's that song? Love Bites? Yes. Start with that." I'm like, "All right, yes, sir." Amazing. And so we literally we went through. We had to prove ourselves every night to this country crowd, and it worked. But it brings something else out of us too, because you have something to prove, and you get to share this amazing genre with other people that maybe wouldn't normally be like, "Oh, hey, let's check this out." So
he's kind of a country rocker too, which he's seemed to work. A couple shows we did with Dwight Yoakam, and we could kind of tell, like, okay, his fans probably weren't really into what we were doing, but still, it was great. And we were just talking about this at Spotify. We're just saying that, like, now that you can access music, every kind of music, it seems like more and more people are being less and less genre specific. And even at these festivals, we see bands of different subgenres of rock bands, playing together. So it seems like it's kind of just across the board. Everyone just loves music,
Yeah, and I like that cross-pollination across genres.
Cross-pollination, that's
cross-pollination. That's but this very excited. This summer you're going out on tour and you'll be out with 3 or 4 other female-led rock bands, which is really awesome. What was behind the decision to do something like that?
Well, between myself and Maria Brink from In This Moment and Ash Costello from New Year's Day, we're all very hardworking ladies, and we never get to see each other. So we put together this tour a long time ago when we could foresee when we were all going to have the free time, just so we could hang out. Really, we never get to hang out with girls, sorry guys, but what we didn't anticipate happening was this amazing movement that is happening, now, and that was started a couple months ago, just that has been empowering and enabling women to have such a tremendous voice. And so we didn't realize how important this tour was until we started it, and not just important for us as women, in the bands, but the audience. What we noticed, and I know you were bringing this up earlier, is that, usually at any typical rock show, it's 60-40 male-female, and on this tour, it has tipped that scale.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty amazing. That's
really great. Now, what goes behind that? Like, what's it like behind the scenes now that you have some gals to hang out with?
What we've actually noticed is the girls have dirtier minds than the guys do, and the guys take more showers when there's a lot of girls around. So yeah,
which is a good thing.
It's good for everybody.
It's a lot less smelly.
There's really nice feng shui in the dressing room.
Yankee candles everywhere.
Yes, great smells.
That's amazing. But it's like you said, it's really important right now, and I think that's awesome. What are some of the challenges or advantages, I guess, of being, the one woman in your band in terms of like the main acts here, and then also challenges in the music industry together, especially in this genre?
Well, I mean, and I'll kind of start at the beginning, because when we were first kind of shopping to labels, we would hear the same thing over and over again, and it was something that I never really understood until later. But these labels would be like, "We love you, we love what you do, but we don't know what to do with you, because radio is not going to accept a woman in this genre." And and at the time it was very few and far between. And then also, even if there are a couple, radio stations will be like, "Well, we already have one girl band on our roster, let's not add another one." It's ridiculous, but that's the way it is. For me, I kind of kept the blinders on when we were starting to tour, because I was the only one out there, and I would forget, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, I'm a girl, cool." And you go through those little things, like, somebody is always thinking that you're the girlfriend, or you're the groupie, or you were at the merch table, and and that kind of thing, and then you get up and you do your thing, and then you prove them wrong. And so I was using that for a long time as a weapon, as in they're not going to be expecting it to be me up there, so I have to bring it every single night. So in a lot of ways, it challenged me to be so much better at what I do. A lot of the positives were you stick out like a sore thumb, you know, and then the negatives, yes, you do have to work a little harder and a lot longer and in high heels.
Yeah. Well, it's working, whatever you all are doing. It's definitely working. Do you feel like the climate right now is a little bit more open for more female-led rock bands than it was maybe first when you got your start?
Oh, absolutely. You know, at any given festival, there's so many, and it's always a huge tell if I have an interview with somebody. They're like, "So, what's it like being one of the only girls?" I'm like, "Actually, you're not paying attention. There's a lot of us out there," and I think it's been a good thing. I know a lot of women have been brave enough to stand up and come forward. You know, not just in the rock genre, but in life in general, and we're all banding together, and it's just such an important thing to be representing a woman that has been working and carving out her own, you know, my own path in my life, because I get to stand up on stage every night and be like, no, see, you can totally do this, because if I can, anybody can, and you just got to keep going. So, and I have the best bandmates in the world, by the way. Like there's been nothing but amazingness from this side, and they've always been super supportive of me and of women in general. And
You go, girl.
yeah, they're my sisters, for in a weird way. Yeah.
And your real life brother. It's kind of cool to be hanging all that time with your brother, right? And vice versa with your sister.
Yeah, well, when we first started, it was basically just Lzzy, myself, and our parents were with us, so we just kind of always kept that family vibe, and now it's definitely brushed off on Joe and Josh. These guys are practically my brothers now. And not even just with the band, but also our crew, our tour manager, everybody that tours with us. You know, it's important to have that close, you know, teammate mentality, you know.
You play some 250 shows a year, not every year probably, but most years, right? I mean, what is it like to have that kind of stamina to keep going? Because going on the road, not that I've done it, but it's hard.
It is.
We're hungry, and we
Literally, or
Yeah.
Have some snacks.
No, we truly want
Any
to.
food?
We're hungry. I don't know. From night to night, we want to play better and play the best show we can, and just constantly raise the bar. I think that keeps us going. Just that desire to get better as a band, as musicians.
And it's just fun. Yeah, rock shows are fun. You know, we usually switch up the set every night, and we always have improv stuff in between, and we don't play to any tracks or click tracks or anything. We just kind of, what you see is what you get. It's just four of us on stage, and that's fun. Things can go a little awry, but it's a rock show.
Call a few audibles.
Yeah.
What has been one of the craziest things that's happened on the road?
There have been so many. Considering the jam, one time Joe's watch broke, and we thought we had to fill up a whole lot of time, and so we ended up
25 minutes.
We ended up doing like an 11-minute version of "I Miss the Misery" to fill up time. Yeah, that kind of stuff. But like
Crew's like, guys,
guys,
what are you doing?
what are you doing?
Yo,
Yes.
stop anytime.
One time our trailer fell off of our RV. This is back when my parents were touring, and my dad was our dad was driving. Was our first RV driver. And I guess the trailer fell off, and he didn't notice. And then the other bands passed us, and on the CB they're like, "Hey, Roger, where's your radio? Or where's your trailer?" And he's like, "Ha ha ha! Oh no!" And it was sideways in the middle of it. Luckily, nobody got hurt. None of the gear got too wrecked, but that was exciting.
There was a case of beer that we lost.
No.
Yeah, that was
They
bad.
took one for the team.
For the homies.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I love that. That's a good memory that you have. Do you actually remember the first gig you ever played and where it was?
Yeah, when we named the band Halestorm that day, it was at the Schuylkill County Fair in 1997 in Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania, and we
lost.
We were
The talent show.
it was this like kind of talent show thing, and so we were smack dab in between the dancing cowgirl and the girl that sang Little Orphan
Little
Annie,
Orphan
right?
Annie or something. Yeah.
And
Somewhere over the
and
rainbow.
we had one song written between us. I had a Casio keyboard, and there was a drum solo in the middle of it. It was called "Love Is Power." We ended up getting the third place trophy, but we lost to the dancing
we
cowgirl.
weren't cute
three.
enough for the
Out of
judges.
three. I used to say we won third place, but we didn't. We lost, but we still
positive
we won in
outlook.
the end.
Second
Won.
loser.
Yeah, you showed
And
that.
where is that tap dancing cowgirl now?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's funny to think that
Not a
like
build, apparently.
Right here, right?
Yeah.
it's funny to think that sometimes though we've been in the band longer than we've not been
Yeah.
a band in our lives. So it's
And remember,
just like,
naming the band Halestorm was just a whim. They were like, that'll work for today.
we tried to change it a few times,
It's like,
and
it's fine.
no, it just nothing else.
Came rolling back, and 20 years later, here
Yeah,
you are.
here
Here
we
we are. Well,
Weird.
before we wrap and ask some questions from the crowd, I would love to just do a quick, lightning round of quick questions. For you.
Okay.
Very super easy. We'll start with you. Okay.
Oh, no pressure.
Ooh.
Okay, you might have the same answer as Lzzy on this one. Do you remember the first ever concert that you attended?
I think the first probably official concert I ever attended was might have been Rush. I think a buddy of ours got us some tickets, and and it was cool.
I can't hurt. You're a drummer. Yeah.
Yeah, Neil Peart. You know.
Yeah, not a bad place to be. All right, what about you?
Tower of Power.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Mine was at the TLA in Philly. It was right in the 90s, so it was Tonic. No, it was Verve Pipe, Tonic, and Kay's Choice. Remember them? The
I
Freshmen?
definitely was at that show, that trio, I'm sure, because
Yeah.
Verve Pipe was like my senior year in high school,
It
so
was
it's right
awesome.
there. What about you?
Technically, my first show ever was when I was 2. It was Cheap Trick at an outdoor festival in Philadelphia, some Summerfest thing. And but the first tickets that I ever bought, by myself, and I went with a friend, was Tool at the
Cool.
Hershey Arena.
Guys, this is good. I like it. All right.
By the
yeah.
way, the Rush concert that I went to was also the first time I ever found out what marijuana smells like.
Oh, yeah.
Like, did somebody fart in here? Like, oh,
We had to
really?
explain that.
Oh,
Close your nose, son.
Hard to escape.
Devil's
at a rock
lettuce.
show. All right. How about either the most influential album on your career or artist?
gosh. Oh man. Oh boy. I guess like for my first introduction to like actually like getting into songwriting and production, other than just listening to like heavy riffs and stuff like that, it might have been "The Fragile" by 9 Inch Nails. That was, Trent Reznor's amazing. So that was probably a game changer for me. Just like learning about like cool sounds and electronic sounds and structure and layering and the way that things build and all that. So that might have been mine.
Awesome. That sounds like it is. All right. Next up.
I'd say any Beatles, anything from the Beatles catalog, but Abbey Road. I don't know. You can learn something new every time you listen to that.
Doesn't ever get old. right?
No, it doesn't.
I know. All right, next
super
up.
influential.
I got into music with Nirvana, but my whole outlook on music and creating it and listening to it changed when I heard "Grace" by Jeff Buckley, which is just like I had to everything I listened to before that I had to scrap and start over and be like, does it have like the emotional content? Are they creating the music for the right reasons? And I still kind of judge music on that level,
That's awesome.
My introduction to rock music, thanks to my dad, was when I was 11. This is when I found out I wasn't cool. Was these 2 records, "Love It to Death," Alice Cooper, and "Holy Diver," Ronnie James Dio. I took both of them to a sleepover when I was 11 because they wanted us to bring CDs to pass around, and it didn't even make it past the first song. They're like, "Ew, no." Granted, this was when there was Backstreet Boys and TLC and all that. Vocally, when I got it, and I'm like, okay, this is it, was actually a live record, "On the Road Home" by Heart.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, that's possible. That's crazy. So
I love all these choices because they're all so different. So thank you
Yeah.
for indulging me in those questions. All right. We have a crowd here and some fans. So let's get to it. They have
Cool.
some questions for you guys.
Hey guys, so I want to ask you guys a question, and this is in honor of the upcoming album that's coming up. How will this album "Vicious" sound like then into the Wildlife and the other albums that you guys have released in the band's career?
This
Yeah,
record
what's
sounds
different?
vicious, man.
That's
It's
true.
a rock record through and through, and I can't wait for you to hear it. "Uncomfortable" is a good intro to it for sure because it's a ripper.
and it goes even deeper than this first song. So I think you'll enjoy going down the rabbit hole with us.
Also, every time we go in the studio, we kind of feel a little bit more confident to take the reins on the record. So, we kind of felt like we didn't really want to play it so safe. So, yeah, vicious.
All right. All right. Who's next?
Hi guys, my name's Kelly. My question is, what was the hardest song to get through for this album, and the favorite song off of the album that you guys really like? And I have to tell you, Black Vulture, love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
To be completely honest, the hardest song to get through was one of the songs on this upcoming record called "Conflicted." It was we were talking with our label, and we have some friends at the company that had this idea, and they hadn't finished it yet. So we took on the challenge just as songwriters and finished the song, and we liked it, but we didn't know what to do with it, and we didn't know how to fit it on the record. So we did like 9 different versions of the song, drafted, redrafted.
One faster, one slower.
Yeah,
Let's
to the
change
point
key.
where we couldn't
Heavier,
listen to it for
quieter.
a while, and then we finally, literally, this was like 2 weeks ago.
Last week.
Last week, yeah.
Yeah.
It's finally done. We
I don't even know
think
if it's
about it
good.
anymore. It might not
I don't
be
know what
good,
it is
but,
anymore.
but that was the toughest one.
It's cool though, because I think it's like the one song that's probably the most of a departure from the rest of the record. So that's like the one moment in the record that's something that's a
definitely
little
weird.
bit way left field for us. So I think it's cool.
And favorite song on the record?
Ooh, I keep saying Skulls.
Do it.
Yeah.
You can.
It's that's I think that one it's probably one of our heaviest songs, but man, there's a riff in the bridge that just it's so wrong that it's right, and thankfully we had a producer that encouraged us to go that far.
It's probably the simplest thing we've ever played for a riff, but it's so heavy
Yeah.
that it's very effective.
I really like Do Not Disturb. It takes the traditional Halestorm sex song and takes it up to the next level.
It makes you feel funny.
Ooh, uncomfortable even.
Awesome. I can't wait for you guys to all hear it. All right. Who's next? We got one right here.
Hi, I'm kind of nervous. Listen, I have a question, but it's in one sentence. So, basically, who really writes the lyrics? I mean, you, or I'm going to assume that Lzzy does, but does anybody else write lyrics for the other songs? Or and then my other part of the question is, when are the lyrics written? Like, for instance, if you like sometimes maybe Joe or one of you guys actually write riffs and then write lyrics to it, like so basically it's who writes lyrics and when. Does that make any sense?
For the most part, it's me. They trust me with words, which I still don't understand why they do that. But yeah, I mean, you can do it. I do it in all ways. There's no right or wrong way to finish a song. So sometimes I'm inspired, yes, by some instrumental. For instance, Uncomfortable started as an instrumental. So basically the guys had kind of put together and we kind of recorded everything just with instruments, and then I went back and wrote a song to it. Now, then there's a song on the record called Heart of Novocaine that I wrote, the song, and then all the lyrics were done, everything was there, but we just had to kind of make it cool. So, yeah, so it can be done both ways. I love you too. Thank you.
Such dedicated fans.
And they're awesome.
And great questions, too. Thank you all for coming by today. The album is available on pre-order. It's not going to be out till July 27th, but you can pre-order it now, and you can catch these guys on tour all summer long, probably all year long. No,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll be out there.
Halestorm, they're going to be on the road till I don't even know when, 2050. All right, give it up one more time. Halestorm, everyone.
Thank you guys so much.